Cooking a great steak at home doesn't always mean using the grill. In this video, I'm going to show you the butter basting technique, and that's a technique a lot of top chefs use to cook steaks in a pan, and has absolutely incredible results. We're going to go step by step how to baste the steak, how to look for if it's done, all the techniques needed to make an absolutely knockout 4-star steak in your kitchen at home. Now, if we're meeting for the first time, my name is Michael Ponzio, and I make cooking videos for you. So what do we need to get this done? Well, the first tool we need is a good saute pan. And you want a nice flat bottom pan, something that's big enough to hold the steak and leave a little bit of extra room for basting and for the butter. Speaking of basting, we need a spoon. A nice big spoon that you can actually work comfortably with is really important. You can't use a soup spoon or a teaspoon. It has to be a tablespoon or larger, but you don't want a big bulky kitchen spoon. We need a steak. For this one today, I'm using a flat iron steak. Flat iron is an absolutely amazing cut that isn't seen very often, and it should be. It's a secondary shoulder muscle. So what it means is the shoulder's doing all the motion, and this is remaining tender and succulent, and actually cooks up to be a dynamite, incredible steak. So I'm a huge fan of flat iron steaks. Aromatics are the items that we're going to add in to add another dimension of flavor to our steak. So for today we're using smashed garlic and rosemary, but you can use thyme, you can use sage, whatever flavors you want to incorporate into the steak while it's basting. Butter, you want a good European or high-fat butter, something that's going to bring a great nuttiness into it while it's cooking, is going to toast really well. Olive oil, and the olive oil is to start the sear of the steak in the pan before we add the butter. And a good seasoning. Now you can use just salt. I love just salt on a steak. This is my seasoning rub. I'll link the ingredients down below so you can see them. So let's get cooking. So the first thing we're going to do is season our steak. Once the pan's nice and preheated, I'm going to add just a light layer of oil to the bottom of the pan. I don't want to add too much fat at this point because we're going to add butter in later, and we don't want this thing swimming in deep frying, but we want to make sure there's enough to evenly coat the bottom so the steak doesn't stick right when it goes in. Once our pan's heated, I'm going to add the steak to the upper third portion of the pan. And the reason I do this is I want room down here to be able to baste and actually grab the butter and toss it as it's cooking. So once the steak starts to get a nice little sear on the bottom, you'll see some caramelization around the edges. We're going to add the aromatics and the butter. Now pay attention to what I'm about to do here. Tilting the pan is going to allow all the butter to pool at the bottom, leaving the steak at the top, searing in a nice dry pan as we baste it with that hot butter. Now I continue basting with the spoon, and you'll see how the meat clumps up here. That's important. What's happening down on the bottom is it's getting a char. You don't want to move your steak too early, because if you move it too early, that char is going to stick at the bottom of the pan versus on your steak. When it's ready to move, it should peel away nice and easy. So when I flip it, I continue the butter basting process, and that's going to continue to develop the crust on the top of the steak as well. Now what's happening here is as the steak's cooking, that hot butter is kind of basting throughout the steak, so it's cooking the steak 100% start to finish in the pan. This isn't going in the oven or anything. You can see how the crust continued to form from the basting. This is looking absolutely fantastic. All right, time for a quick temp check. Let's see where we're at. Perfect. So at this point is the most important step, which is resting the steak before we slice it. So now the steak's rested for about 5 minutes. We're going to slice into it and take a look. Oh wow, this looks incredible. You can see it's got an amazing crust on the outside, just absolutely fantastic, and that's from the basting and the caramelization and the Maillard reaction igniting as we're cooking the steak. But it's still a beautiful medium rare on the inside. I cooked this to 125 and then let it rest up, and it carries over those extra degrees to get to where it needs to be. It's fantastic. It's crunchy, it's delicious. You get the hints of garlic and rosemary perfuming inside your mouth as you're eating it, but you get all the beefiness of the steak. So if you guys are going to do this at home, I want to hear about it. Leave it down in the comments. Let me know if you're going to try this at home. If you have any questions, throw them down there. I'll do my best to get back at them. I'm going to link down below the timeline snaps, the tools I used, all the step-by-step, everything you need to know about the butter basting technique that I do. Now, if you like what you see here and you want to see some more great content, I have a ton of awesome videos. Here's my 10 steps on how to cook the perfect steak. It goes step by step on how to do it. All the little things in here that we may not have put in this video. It kind of takes you on through kind of the little master snapshot of how to cook a steak. If you like what you see, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. click the bell for notifications because we got a lot of videos coming out. At least once a week a new video is loading. So thank you guys. Eat on.